Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy JX. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about a topic that I think it's rarely kind of explored. I think like a lot of YouTube videos, there are a lot about what do men face and what's it like to date Thai women. But I think one thing that's really kind of not explored, especially for people in Asia, especially Westerners who come to Asia, they may not know that actually it's really difficult for Western women, white women to date in Asia. A lot of it, I feel that it's really self-inflicted. Others is more like, it's difficult for them. It's a very different kind of environment. For me, I think there are like four main reasons why that's the case. So I think there are four main reasons why there are it's difficult for white women to date in Asia. Some of it is kind of self-inflicted. Others, it's not so much. It's just the environment. It's much more difficult for them in this country and in Asia in general. As somebody who's lived in Singapore, who's lived in Thailand, China, been to Europe to work as well. The environment that people are in is very different. When women come to Thailand, come to Singapore, they face very different kind of challenges. I think one of the first challenges that a lot of Western women face when they come to Asia to date is primarily around that there are a lot more competition, and the competition is kind of very different from the country that they're from, right? Because culture-wise, Asia is very different from the Western world. The concept of femininity in Asia is really different. I think that it's not that Western women are necessarily less feminine, but it's just different, right? Like I think in Asia, you're more likely to find women who are more pro-family. They are more likely to be trained from a young age to raise a family or to like do household chores. And to them, I think like especially in Thailand, for example, if you talk to guys or even girls, that to them a lot of the way that they derive self-esteem, pleasure, is to be able to say that, hey, like I'm a guy or a girl who takes care of their family. So this is really different, I think, from the West. I have buddies who are from the West, and they complain a lot about dating in where they come from, whether it's Germany or the US. They complain a lot like, oh, women in the West, they are not feminine. But actually, it's not that they're not feminine, they're just feminine in a different way. I think when Western men come here and they experience a different kind of femininity, and then Western women come here and they experience it as well, it gets pretty difficult, very challenging, because they see that, okay, like they are being subservient. They think that, oh, they're just obedient Asian beauties, but actually that's not the case. Like a lot of Thai women, Singaporean women are actually very independent, very career driven, very intelligent, very smart, come from great backgrounds. So I think it's a little bit hypocritical and very bitter from these so-called like Western women who are feminists, who come in here to say that, oh, like these women, they're just being taken advantage of. And the common term of this thing called passport bros, where Western men especially come to a poorer country, a less developed country, to marry women here. I personally have nothing bad to say about like men like that. I think that we live in a global world now, and if you want to move to a different country and experience what's available out there, you can and you should. So I think the second challenge for Western women to date in Thailand and Singapore, well, more Thailand than Singapore, I guess, is that generally Thailand is a much poorer country than the Western world. And a lot of the so-called feminine qualities of and expectations of women in Thailand, for example, is that the man is the provider. And for a lot of these passport bros or Western guys who come over to Thailand, they do have a little bit more money than the average person in Thailand. So when they do come here, these are, I think, like very attractive qualities for women in Thailand. So if you're the kind of guy who does have a little bit of money to splash and don't mind spending a little bit to splurge and to treat your women, it is considered generally an attractive quality. Not that it's not, attractive in the Western world, but I think for a lot of Western women, they may have much higher expectations. So when they bring those expectations and then apply it to the men here who can get a little bit more with a little bit less by spending a bit less but get exactly what they're looking for or a little bit more than what they're looking for, it's a lot easier for these men, and so this is just more competition, right? So it's more difficult for Western women who decide to stay in the country. So if you're in Asia, if you're a Western woman, you're staying in this country, and you expect men to kind of like spend money on you, take you on trips. I think you are kind of like and at the same time, if you're expecting men to kind of spend money on you, take you on trips, and you are not giving out kind of the reciprocity that a lot of the Asian women are giving, I think that's really a bad view, and the competition that you face is going to be quite difficult. All right, so let's talk about something I feel that maybe is going to be a hot take, or something that's going to be quite controversial, or maybe even unpopular. As somebody who's lived in many countries, many of them Asian, I've met my fair share of white women and Western women in this country. When I talk to them about like who they're dating and how things are going with them, generally it doesn't seem too positive. So this is where I feel that I think it's where a lot of problems they have is kind of self-inflicted, or it's kind of brought upon by themselves. I think that there are two main reasons for that. So first thing is that when I talk to white women or Western women in Asia, a lot of times what they tell me is that, I'm not interested to date Asian men. Well, I'm sorry to say it, sister, but majority of men in Asia are Asian. So for whatever reason, racist, prejudice, or any cultural reasons or otherwise, you may not feel that you want to date Asian men. I'm sorry, that's just going to make it more difficult for you. It's like saying that I want to move to the US and I don't want to date any Americans. I want to move to the Philippines, but I don't want to date any Filipinos or Filipinas. That's just kind of cutting yourself from a major pool of people. I remember one time as well, I was talking to a white lady from the Americas, from the US, and she was telling me that, I went on a date with this Thai guy, and I didn't have a good time because he was really boring. He didn't read the same books as I was, and I'm just thinking that, look, lady, like the women in Thailand, they find other things that they like about the men here. It's not, and the same thing with women in Singapore. They may not like all the Singaporean men they have access to, but hey, we all find something that we enjoy about the other person. I think it's pretty common when I speak to a lot of foreign women, Western women, white women. It just seems that endless list of complaints. A lot of times it just feels that they're nitpicking, and this is a kind of common thing that I hear a lot from my friends who are from the West, who say that, hey, like it's really difficult to date in my country because it seems that the women have a million things to complain about me, but we can't kind of reflect it back upon them. I think another key reason, a key challenge that white women, Western women kind of face as a challenge to dating in this country, in Asia in general, is that a lot of passport bros, a lot of Western men leave their Western country to come to Asia. They may come here for professional reasons, they may come here for personal reasons. Some are just taking a break and they fell in love with Asia and they decided to stay here. I think whatever the reason that they come here, one of the things they do want to kind of escape or leave from is to leave the women. If I think that their home country was that good, it was that good for them, they wouldn't leave. I think generally, as someone who has been to the West a lot for work and met a lot of friends and got to know a lot of people who used to stay there, it's not uncommon to kind of hear these complaints, and everyone's really fascinated when I say, I'm living in this country, I'm living in this Asian country, these are the things that I'm exposed to, and it's very, very different over there. And a lot of them express interest to kind of move over there or come to Asia for a holiday. I think it's when you compound all of these things together, it makes it really, really difficult for Western or white women to kind of compete. And the part of it is that, as someone who's been doing business, who's done sales and done marketing before, I think that if you are coming into a new market, there has to be a compromise around what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to take. So if you decide to come to Asia and you decide to take up a job here and you recognize that, hey, these are the options that are available to me, I can't really just say that, hey, like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, while recognizing that your competition, people who are competing with you for the same person, is doing something easier, better than you. I think, like, for example, one of the key things that's really common, I feel that in Asia, is that women are generally really, really slim. So if you are a Western woman who doesn't have that kind of body type, unfortunately, a lot of men, not just Western men, Thai men, Asian men, Singaporean men, prefer that kind of look. And if in the West, maybe that would be okay for you to get away with, but that's not going to fly here, because even within Thai women, if they want to get a quality guy, a guy who has certain kind of look, prospects, money, career, they recognize that, hey, they have to kind of elevate themselves. They need to stand above their competition. A lot of the women I date here, some of them very educated, some not. A key part of what they kind of consider their own femininity is really around, their looks. They recognize that, hey, like, if I want to keep my man, I want to keep my boyfriend, I want to keep my husband, I need to maintain a certain look. I need to behave in a certain way. So I think that's the really key difference when you compare the so-called competition with white women or Western women. The women in Asia are generally very, very hyper aware that they are competing with other guys. Generally, like, you hear stories, or I've experienced myself where women, in a way, fight over me because they know that what kind of guy I am and what kind of lifestyle I can support and give to them. So, and it never even comes into view, I don't think, for majority of kind of like men in Thailand or Singapore. They don't even think, oh, I want to date a white woman, or date a Thai woman, or date a Vietnamese woman or a French woman. Nobody I don't think many men kind of think of that. But I feel that is really, really, really common for when I talk to white women, Western women in Thailand, in Singapore. They will be like, no, I would want a Western guy. I would want some guy who is like from this kind of background. He's from the West, he has to be from Australia. And I think that's really difficult and very short-sighted, when in general there are not that many Australians in Singapore or Thailand in general. So that's just cutting off your own nose, right? So you're not going to get what you want. So you have to kind of like expand your horizons a little bit. All right, so that's it for today's video. If you like this topic, you like what I said, please leave a comment. If you like this topic also as well, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I'll probably see you next week. All right, guys, see ya.